clipped the mic immediately. I was too excited.
Straight up.
It's because Christmas is around the corner.
Happy Christmas.
Are you guys out there? What?
Happy Christmas.
What is that? What is that you're doing?
Happy Christmas.
Is that your way of saying Merry Christmas?
Yeah, I like to say Happy Christmas and see how many people don't notice. Because a lot of people just kind of like listen to what you're saying, but not actually listen. Happy Christmas.
Welcome back to the No Big Banana Podcast. My name is Charles.
My name is
Okay, so Christmas is coming. Everything still feels really weird, right?
Yeah, it's a goddamn pandemic still going on.
Yeah.
Of course things feel weird.
Very strange. Speaking of which, did you see the whole backpedal thing with the White House administration about
30 seconds in and we're going here?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I don't know what made me think of it. It was just interesting to me to see that over the course of this week. It was like, we're getting it. We're getting it first.
Yeah.
And then they were like, that's kind of fucked up, and they're like, we're not getting it. It was just strange. It was just so weird. Of all the crazy political shit that's been going on, that was just kind of a little diamond in the rough in terms of entertainment value. Because I was just like, that's the most, and this is not partisan.
It's the most.
This is not a partisan. This is not a partisan opinion. This is just government in general. Yeah. Anybody that's in power is just such a fucking power move.
Oh,
to be we're taking the vaccine first. Just kidding. But and then it's they're still fucking gonna get it.
Yeah. Speaking of though, I think Biden has won the Electoral College to cement victory.
Cement is a strong word.
They've cast the electorates,
so they have nothing to do in January.
They just actually physically vote.
Right. This is the last. They're
it's not gonna happen.
4 stages of an election.
Right, but the thing is that they've lost everything that they've tried to do thus far, even to the Supreme Court. They even took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was like, nah.
It's PTSD conversations about his being elected is all it is. It's just for somebody who and I'm no Nostradamus by any means.
I'm no Nostradamus.
But I did have a pretty good idea that Trump was going to win, while a lot of people were still like, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. You think this lunatic's going to get... And so for 3 months leading up to the election,
you were like...
I was having conversations with people that were like, look, man, it's been a great show up to this point. But when it comes to it, people in this country are going to vote for the person that they think is the most qualified, and that's Hillary Clinton. Yeah. I had that conversation with so many of my liberal friends. And then he got elected, and then they all just ghosted off the earth. And I was just like,
that's fair. I would too if I was that.
In this new world of hyper partisanship.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, you see this strange, I think it was on Lou Dobbs, Stephen Miller, that vampire.
Yeah.
He and Lou Dobbs were getting in a fight because Lou Dobbs was pissed off that Lou Dobbs was upset that the Trump campaign did not take Ted Cruz up on his offer to be a lawyer for the president.
Right.
In the Supreme Court battle. And Stephen Miller was like, he won,
I still have to give credit where it's due to Tom Findle. But his quote is,
shout outs to Findle.
One of his quotes has stuck with me is that, and I'm sure it's been said before, but he was the first person I heard say it. Politics is just Hollywood for ugly people. And it really is a show. Because take somebody like Ted Cruz, for example, in real life, right? In real life, if a guy that was just a guy said all of this terrible shit about your father and your family and
that your wife looks like a dog and that your dad killed JFK,
and then later that week you found
just
out that oh yeah, I'm gonna not only am I gonna support this guy, but I would like to be the attorney to present the case of election fraud to the Supreme Court. If that was in real life and you heard that story, you would be like, what the fuck
is wrong with you? Yeah.
But with politics, it's okay. Well,
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, these things happen. You know, it's, and anything. All the shit with Trump, all the shit with Hunter Biden. It's just like, if any of these people were regular people, and that's what Trump spoke to the first round against Hillary, and you know, she was a fucking perfect scapegoat example
For real,
for that kind of a person that just like seems to operate with impunity and is just like, if they were a regular citizen, they'd be buried under the fucking prison.
Oh yeah. Straight up, yeah. There's no way. Like, I think the difference for me is that, like, in 2016, there was never really a moment up until the actual election where it was like there wasn't any like something set in stone, right? Like there wasn't any kind of like lawsuit or like allegations or like any of this bullshit puffery that they're trying to do. I think part of it too is that like they still need money, so they're like, guys, we can still fight this, so keep giving us money.
Right.
Overall, it's become kind of like, all right, yeah, well, he lost, but whatever, we're gonna keep milking this cow while we can.
It wouldn't surprise me if that kind of, I mean, at the very least, the rhetoric is going to continue for several years.
Oh, it's going to destroy the GOP.
I mean, dude, did you see, speaking of which, speaking of those exact words, they were chanting that, right?
Yeah.
The Trump supporters were chanting destroy the GOP.
Well, because, you know, Brian Kemp is too much of a liberal to go up and actually like save him. I think it was like Lara Trump was on one of the other like Fox, you know,
spinoffs,
right? And,
Fox at midnight.
And she said the thing you're supposed to say in quiet out loud. She was like, "Well, Brian Kemp owes him a favor," and it's like, "Oh, you want him to overturn the election and disenfranchise millions of voters because he owes you a favor?"
Right. And also, to be clear, that is not a quid pro quo.
Yeah, because he did not say quid pro quo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like unless you murder somebody and say, "I am murdering you now," it doesn't count.
I'm sure that gangsters that are brought up on RICO charges, once it's heard that they didn't actually use the words murder, I'm sure that they're released immediately to their own recognizance. Like,
what was it like? I forget what the skit was on Chappelle's show, but it's like he's in the courtroom and he's just like keep going, "I plead the fifth," and then like he holds up the piece of paper that just says FIF. I just every time I think
I
about
don't remember. I mean, those kind of characters exist all the time in those high profile political cases. Like, right, there's always like whichever side it is, like the person that like has all the info to crack the case wide open has got a figurative and a literal gun to their head. So they're just like on the stand like, well, I would like to plead the fifth.
Yeah.
And they just do that for hours and hours. Like anybody that ever gets interviewed, like somebody like Scott Peterson, like that guy that murdered his wife, any of those fucks, like, and that's just like knee jerk what they do. And they'll do it for hours throughout the entire deposition.
I like beer.
Epstein did it.
I like beer.
Yeah. That was Epstein's depositions, was just, I plead the fifth.
Beer games. Drinking games.
It's like that guy on that Murder at Middle Beach documentary on HBO.
Remember that alcoholic is now in the highest court in the land. Like people are like, oh, what's the worst that Trump could do? Fucking calendar humping Kavanaugh.
Well, 6 of the Supreme Court justices are Republicans.
Yeah.
It's just disconcerting.
Which is odd. Like you would think, like with that being said, like that Donald Trump himself appointed 3 of them.
Right.
That they would have been like, yeah, bring it on. But they were like, we're dismissing it outright. We're even dismissing the opportunity to talk about it. Like there are a couple here that would be like willing to listen, but there's nothing there, so we're not going to do it. I mean, even the AG Barr was like, I can't find anything.
Well, and now I see that this, and I don't know if this is, you can't tell anymore. And honestly, I don't have the fucking time to do the research because I don't care enough, for one. And for two, like, I have to spend my time doing other shit. Like, I just finished an album. I've got to start.
And I'm on it.
Yeah, and it comes out next week.
I'm so embarrassed about it, dude.
No, it's gonna be good.
Oh
it's
my
great.
God.
I'm stoked. All the other verses are starting to pour in. Like
I showed the raw to Alex.
Yeah,
and I had to like leave the room. I was like, I can't be in here while you're listening to this.
What did he say? He said it was trash.
No, he was like, bro.
Yeah.
You sound like you had a lot of fun on it. That's awesome. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be fun. Everybody listen, when it comes out, and that'll be a week from this episode.
I will say
I want everybody to get on that episode and tell Justin what a great job he did.
Don't fucking.
On Vicious Mockery.
Yeah.
Coming on Join the Party.
Yeah. I will say though, like it like for real, like, and it's not just because I'm on it, but I do think that like it is better than the last album. Just beats wise, verse wise, like I think like overall direction, like at least like from what I heard, like the Raws over at Jay's place.
Yeah,
like,
well, it's more I think personal for me. This one.
I don't know. Plus, like Ginny.
Oh, dude, Ginny D.
She sings like an angel.
Ginny D. Spoiler alert. everybody, but
Sorry,
they'll find out because I'm going to drop the track listing this week. Yeah, Ginny D's on Evil Eye.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's dope.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a lot more personal. I feel like the Attack of Opportunity was like 70% D&D, 30% personal.
Right.
And I feel like this is way closer to like 60-40 in favor of personal.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like it's still like thematically D&D.
Oh yeah.
There's really
absolutely.
only one song that I even talk about the game, and it's really just
you
shitting on 5e.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get heat for that because the whole song is called Retcon. The last line of the song is 5e needs a retcon.
Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, bring it on. It's I feel like 5e how I feel about capitalism, right? Like I'm not
sounds good on paper.
I'm not anti,
but in practice,
no. Listen,
falls apart.
I'm not anti, but definitely needs improvement.
Yeah.
Like if they were a student, I wouldn't fail them, but they would get a needs improvement.
Yeah, they would get like a C minus. I think the thing for me, like, it very much feels like a different game. I don't really consider 5e and 3.5 to be the same game.
Let me say some good things about 5e because I'm in the holiday spirit.
Oh my God.
It has very much enriched the RP aspect of the game.
Yeah, that's what I like most about it.
The biggest problem with 3.5, and it's the thing that's best about it, which is an interesting dichotomy because like the thing that's best about it is also its biggest flaw, is that because it's so mechanically complex.
Right.
And there's so much source material.
You can't, it's more difficult to just dive in.
Like if you want to build a character, and even if you don't want to, optimize,
right?
If you just want to make a nice, well-rounded character, to really fully get into that, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we would spend, we would have sessions where we would, our session zeros where we would build characters and with each other, like see what we were doing and where we were coming from and try and like balance that with each other as a party. Right. And, we'd spend 10 hours in that session just hanging out, chatting. And then we would spend like the next week building out the rest of the character for the thing. So it was super intensive. And 5e is very much like, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
here it is. Yeah. Like they figured out how to compress that.
I do think you said it well, that it is its biggest benefit and also its greatest detriment. Is how intense the character building and the mechanics are. And I think that's why like I think of them as two different games, because like 5e for me feels like a role-playing experience, 3.5 feels like a game.
Yes.
And so it's like, do you want to play Risk or do you want to play Shoots and Ladders?
Yeah.
You'll have more fun playing Shoots and Ladders because it's simple.
Right.
But like if you really want to get into like an actual game with somebody, like with thought and strategy behind it, you should probably play Risk instead.
Listen, Wizards, get at me. Like,
yeah.
I believe that 6th edition, if they are in fact even working on it, but from what I understand, Wizards seems to be focused on just supplemental content for 5e, and that's okay. Yeah. That's totally fine because it needs it.
Oh, sure,
I
man.
encourage supplemental content. In fact, I said it in Skill Monkey, like somebody needs to supplement the skills, and like somebody needs to supplement the skills. Like they just dropped this. What is it? Tasha's
Cauldron of Everything.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten a chance to fully peruse it, but from the stuff that I have seen, it's good.
Yeah, it adds a lot. So, I mean, like, obviously it's like adding Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's like a second edition of that. So it adds in new classes, it adds in new styles, it adds in new backgrounds, new bardic colleges, new focuses on magic. And I will say to their credit, like, I think it is really good of them to be like encouraging, like, fuck man, Matt Mercer made a new like mage class for D&D, and it is now canon.
Bet. Yeah.
It's the Dunamancy. It's like fate-based magic. So it's like, whenever there's like a I think the way that he describes it is like whenever somebody makes a choice, there's a split in timelines. And so Dunamancy allows you to take the power that's made from that split and utilize it. It basically just ends up being like you get an extra roll, so it's like you get advantage.
Oh, so you're just Vanessa from Black Clover.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. The
That's
String of
dope.
Fate, exactly. So it's kind of like that, and that's cool. He made it for Liam O'Brien's character, and then like when he built out the whole like entire guidebook to Exandria, that was in it, and now it is an official class, kind of like with the Blood Hunter. I think he added in as well.
Oh yeah. Hey, like speaking of Critical Role, did you see that Laura Bailey won Best Voice for Last of Us 2?
She is so wonderful.
I guess.
She is a jewel in a sea of people.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Game Awards, actually, and I didn't speak about this on the podcast. I told you about this.
Yeah, Hades.
It's just cool shit. Hades winning indie and action.
Yeah.
Action over Doom, which surprises the fuck out of me. Not because I don't think that it deserves it, just because I feel like the masses would go to Doom first. But
it's surprising,
Hades is just so fucking good that like you can't the replayability.
I think I've played through. I think I've had like 40 or 50. It's got to be more than that at this point, because I've had like 140 escape attempts.
Yeah,
so somewhere in like 100. Sometimes I'll go through one and then like I won't like the build or whatever, but I don't want like the story to rewind.
Yeah, so that
I can go back and talk to more people and get more of the story going and like develop more of the relationships and stuff. So it's like I'll kind of like take an L in Asphodel. Like I'll just walk out into the lava and kill myself. And then go back.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You know? Yeah. So it's like I would assume maybe like 40 or 50 of them are from that, but like for the most, and from the beginning when I first played the game, all the deaths.
Yeah.
But like once fucking, oh my god. Okay, get the shield, the one that has Zeus's enchantment to it. The one that like you throw it out and it's just that slow moving disc of death.
Yeah.
You use that and you put either Doom or Critical on that thing, and then you get the Tartarus Hammer or the Daedalus Hammer that changes the attack to do a swipe that hits twice but doesn't knock away.
Yeah.
And you get Doom, and then you get the boon that allows Doom to do more damage the more times you stack it.
Right.
It's over.
Dude, I have a build right now and I haven't fought Hades yet, but I just beat Theseus and the
Asterius.
Just beat them. I did it your way.
Yeah.
Actually found it a little bit more difficult that
way.
Really? But it might have something. It might have more to do with the build than that, because I'm on the fists.
Gotcha.
And I've got like a Athena Dionysus thing going on. And let me just say, I also got Ares and Artemis involved on this run, and some of like the duo shit that I've been getting is fucking dumb.
It's ridiculous.
So I got Athena off rip and got attack deflect.
Yeah.
And then I spent the whole like first level just getting coin. It was really weird. It was like every fucking door was just more money.
Gotta get that upgrade in the mirror that allows you to change it.
To change the door?
Yeah.
Oh.
I also have a thing now where like if I get a key, the key gives me an extra. So like every once in a while I'll choose a key just so I get a key and I can trade them for like other things. And then that also gives me another option to change it. So when it's like, oh, it's only Hermes, fuck Hermes, and I'll just change it and be like, great, it's Athena now, much better. You know?
Oh yeah.
So it kind of allows it's I will say one thing about it though that pisses me off is that like I'll get into a habit where it's like it's a gemstone and I'm like fuck that, and then it's like and now it's darkness and I'm like fuck that, and then it's coin, I'm like man fuck that, and then I hit it again and it's gemstones again, and I'm like well I'm right back where I started.
Yeah, I was thinking too like it could be detrimental.
It can be, yeah, if you rely on
it. I got Dionysus involved with Hangover on my dash.
Okay.
And
yeah, where it drops it off wherever you land.
One of the duos I got slowed enemy projectiles by 50%.
Right.
But then I got another duo that shortened the amount of time of the hangover damage.
Shortened the amount of...
So
it just did it in
so it normally
bursts.
Goes every half a second.
Right.
It changed it to 0.325 seconds.
There's one, I forget what it is. Oh, it's actually like a decent... I think it's Aphrodite and Artemis. When foes are afflicted with weak, they get... Like you get like an 80% chance to critical hit something that's afflicted by weak.
Oh yeah.
So like if you've got like weak on, because like one of the things I like about Aphrodite, there's a couple things actually now that I've been kind of like using her, because at first it was like it's absolutely worthless. It's the worst. It's the worst boons in the game. Like I need something that's either going to deflect attacks, deal damage, impact how many things I can hit at once, like things like that. Like I need offensive and defensive capabilities. I don't need buffs. Like,
yeah.
When you get to a certain point, I think it's one of the legendaries. When you afflict something with weak, it falls in love with you and then it starts fighting for you.
Oh.
So like I was with Theseus and Asterius, and I like smacked Asterius, and he just went after Theseus, and I was like, yeah,
dude, something funny happened to me too. I'd gotten dodge from, I wear Hermes thing, and then I also got dodge from him.
right.
And so there was this point where I was fighting, I killed Theseus first, and I was killing Asterius, and it got to a place where it was going to be beneficial for me to just defy death.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to stand here and die.
And just couldn't.
And bro, he swung on me like 9 times
Yeah.
in a row, and I dodged all of them, and I was like, I didn't think this through.
Yeah.
This might take longer than I
Oh,
thought.
yeah,
but
dude,
then he
like-
hit me like 2 times after and killed me, and I was like, thank God.
I've got to kill Kairon one more time to get the achievement for.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's stop talking about Hades because people, not everyone plays it.
Well, I was gonna say when you said Charon, it made me think of Conroe. So Fire Force.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Benimaru is just
On
the
some other shit?
fucking. He's just the master of flex.
Oh yeah, he's
I
up
mean-
there. He's up. Who do you think's the best flexor in anime?
Oh man. Well, that's difficult for me because I mean you have a much higher frame of reference. I have not watched nearly as much as you. I don't know, man. As much as I disliked the ending, I still think Honest Voldegoat is up.
Honest Voldegoat is up
for
there.
discussion. Like,
Yeah.
simply because of the fact that he calls it out directly.
I
You know,
feel-
because like you probably could make the argument that other people have overcome more, or
Oh, yeah.
or you know, somebody like Luffy, obviously.
Sure.
But from the standpoint of, I was gonna say, of just the downright balls,
Yeah.
of him to just be like, "You think killing me would kill me?"
Yeah,
It's
you
just
think
like,
you think killing me would make me die?
yeah,
stuff like that.
like from a plot hook standpoint, it's
I
just
will say
like-
though, like I think I would have to give Honest demerits because like it only works in kind of like a funny sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
it's not as like impactful as other flexes I've seen. Like
And now that you say that, it also really only operates within a vacuum, right?
it only works
Because,
with him.
it's-
If anybody
yeah,
else was acting like that, you'd be like, "Fuck off."
right.
But it only works because it's Honest, and it's because like why do you think me doing it would make it not work? Like
Yeah, well, and that's part of the problem, I think, too, like with anime when you get too close to God, because one of the problems, in my opinion, with the concept of God is that it's like,
there's a lot.
well, it's just
It's
that
not
like
real.
they're that way because they're that way.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no understanding beyond it. Whereas like if you were to take somebody like Luffy, for
Sure,
example,
yeah.
there's been 900 episodes of
Yeah.
development for his character.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Whereas with Anos, it
kind
was
of.
just like episode 1 was just
Right.
like, I'm the demon king of everything and I
There-
can do
yeah.
everything and no one's stronger than me.
I do think there is something to be said about. I think you hit on a really good point that I think a lot of people don't like internalize a lot. Is that like it's the same with like Dragon Ball, right? Like so, like in Dragon Ball Z, there is always a level of like struggle. Right, like that's kind of like essential to the shonen genres, the struggle to overcome the boundaries and to ascend further. And so, like at least in like Dragon Ball, it's like, okay, well, what was the initial trigger for Kaioken? Goku had to be killed first, right? And then he found out from God, and then like, okay, so then he goes back to Earth, and then he finds like goes to Namek, and it's like even through all of that, it's still like was just kind of like scratching the surface. It wasn't until he was like beaten to a pulp and his friend was killed in front of him that it made the trigger, and that's why Super Saiyan felt so good. Like even
Yes.
like with Cell, like if Cell had just like shown up as Perfect Cell, it would have been bullshit. But because
Right.
Cell had to like run around as like a sneaky little shit, running around trying to find it's like sucking people dry, and then like having to hunt down these 2 androids, it wouldn't have felt as good,
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's the case with any villains in anime. Like,
or just
if-
any characters.
yeah, I mean, if you're doing it right, like you shouldn't get everything that you see at face value.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, even with Frieza, although Frieza it got annoying.
Frieza, like there was a little bit of there was at least with Frieza an escalation of the power, which like made it feel more harrowing each time.
Yes.
Like if you had just met Frieza at perfect form, it would have been like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the way with, I think it was like Super Android 13 or something. One of the movies, it was like he showed up and he was just like already in perfect, or like Broly. It's like, whoa, what are you gonna fucking do?
Right.
Like there's no, and then Broly's back. First of all, can we talk about Broly's backstory for a minute? Do you know Broly's backstory?
I mean, a little bit.
He's so cool, and yet the reason why he is so cool is because Goku was crying a lot, and so whenever he hears the name Goku, Kakarot, he goes to become the legendary like actual Super Saiyan, like the actual Legend Super Saiyan.
Well, I think that
like,
I think the Broly Goku relationship is very similar to like Wolverine and Cyclops.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
it's like the only reason that you're so cool is because it's easy to beat up on Captain Good Guy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like he was so cool, and like he looked cool, and like there is. I really, really love.
Oh, dude, the first time that I ever saw him with like the green hair and shit, I was like, this is like my favorite Saiyan.
Yeah,
like,
I will say though, like the super version, the one that they kind of like redid Broly.
Yeah, isn't it blue hair?
Well, that's the Super Saiyan like
10 or wherever we are now.
Well, I mean that's why that's why GT fucked off. Like that's why everyone hates it.
Yeah.
Because again, like going back to that like analogy, like that's the only reason why Dragon Ball Z works, and GT is proof of that. GT has on its surface the same formula.
Well, I think that the problem with something like DBZ is that, and I mean, even from Dragon Ball, what you're doing is you're making it about the characters and very, very little about the world itself.
Right. And One Piece is the opposite.
Right. Which is exactly what I was thinking. It's like the reason that you could follow Luffy for 900 episodes is because the world can support that.
It's like a D&D campaign,
The world is large enough to support that.
The guy made an entire world.
The DBZ world is not, and so you run into these brick walls like GT, where it's like, okay, well now we're just doing. It's very formulaic.
Well,
where it's like,
wasn't
there's a bad person, and then we've got to get stronger to beat that bad person.
Well, and that's still the formula, but like there's in Dragon Ball's GT, they had a really cool character in the I think his name was Baby, and he was like able to take control of like the minds of like everybody. So like they come back to the planet, and like literally all of the allies are fighting them and stuff. And it was just really cool because he was like this bioorganism that like the Saiyans eradicated a long time ago, and he was like the last one, so he was coming back to get revenge on the leftover Saiyans, right?
Yeah.
It was a solid setup, and then like they just kind of shit the bed because again, Akira Toriyama had no part in GT, and it was rushed out for children.
Yeah.
That's why Goku turns back into a child, and it's like it's the same bullshit reason. It's the same bullshit problem I have with Bleach. It's like. He gives up his power, and it's a decent moment. Like it's not even the best moment in the series, but like he has to give up all of his power to be able to kill this guy, kill God essentially, and he does. And then the very next season is, well, let's figure out a way to get him his powers back. And it's like, no, you can't undo that. Like you can't undo that. Like that's not fair. It's the same with like Goku when they turn him into a child. It's like you can't just undo the change, and then they just have him turn into Super Saiyan 4, so they give him an excuse to have him in an adult form.
Right.
And it's like all they did was pull a tail out. Literally, God pulled a tail out of his ass, and it made him turn into Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah.
And then he beat the final boss. And it's like there was no struggle, there was no trial, there was no like investment in the process. Like even like with Deku, it's like you go through this series of events where it's like he's literally breaking his fingers into jelly.
Yes.
To fight this guy to a point where he can like actually go one-on-one with that muscle dude.
Yes.
You know, like, oh, I have a spoiler for you after this about My Hero Academia that I really want to spoil.
Oh, well, you're not going to do it because I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about Fire Force.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't give it enough time, and it deserves discussion.
Oh my God.
Because when Benimaru, when he fucked up Shinra, that was some crazy shit.
And Arthur, don't forget.
And then, well, here's the thing. I thought that all he was going to do was knee Arthur, which was so much more impactful. Because after what he did, I mean, he just like waxed his ass in like 4 seconds.
Clap cheeks,
with just like all the dopest shit.
He didn't even like try.
Seen.
It was like he was just standing there like, fuck you.
It was effortless.
Yeah.
And then
so good.
For him to just grab Arthur and then just knee him once and then start talking shit. I was like, oh my God.
He's
dude.
being serious right now. I also like there was a moment where like I was watching it because like I don't really pay attention to the numbers of the episodes. I watch One Piece.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant to me. You know, like it doesn't matter. Like I'm just gonna keep watching and watching. And there was a moment in it where like I think it's like the credits started playing while like they were still doing stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. It minimized the screen, and I was like, no, it's episode 24. No.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I didn't wait till the end after the end.
Well, because they started saying all that shit like together we can do anything, and it's like wait, what's happening?
And then you see all the pillars showing up in the area. And what? And then like Shinra turning like blue flames and shit. Like bro, that shit was clean.
You know what's really funny is that
we also can't discredit like Tamaki like doing the full cat thing.
Oh yeah, that was super
boss.
Gangster.
That was really cool. I was talking to Cheyenne about it because I got her into it now.
Yeah.
So I've been going back and rewatching it from the beginning because I've only seen the series once.
Yeah.
And I was watching it as it was syndicated, so I watched it in spurts, right? So like it was like I don't really like. fucking Chicago calling me. I don't know why.
So unprofessional.
I'm sorry. I'll put it. I'm sorry. But like,
I don't think mine's on silent.
Yeah. Well, sorry. I'm popular. I'm not. It's like some call from Chicago, Illinois. It's like I don't fucking know.
Is it Scruff McGruff?
Yeah, the crime dog. But like I've been going back and we would like watch the first season. It's like I didn't remember the rookie games where like Shinra goes and first meets Joker.
Oh yeah.
I didn't remember that at all until it happened. I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was like, episode 2. Hi Joker, what's going on, bro? And then like, you know, so it's like it's really nice like to go back and like revisit that, and like even episode 2, like Tamaki showing up and like doing the cat flips and shit. And I was like, I am really glad that they have this character that is the ecchi component of the show actually have a full-fledged character arc to her.
Yes.
Has an interesting power that sets her aside. It's the same with like Maki.
Yeah.
The one that wears like the hat, like the witch's hat.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
She's a bad bitch. Like I forgot about when she just clapped Arthur and Shinra at the same time.
Also, is this the first time that we've met the captain of the 6th?
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
I think it is.
I don't think I've ever seen her.
No.
And
Which one's the
also,
captain of the 6th?
she's the one that comes to study Conroe.
Yes, the doctor one.
Yeah,
we haven't met her yet.
And I think she has the same thing as him.
She
right?
has an Adola link, yeah.
Well, I mean, not just the Adola link, but the same, right? Because his thing is different, right? He doesn't have, that's what she said. She said there's nothing about his flame that's special. So there's nothing on the surface that appears to have reasoning as to why he has the Adola link.
Right.
And then she kind of like looks at her own hand, and it seems that she had the
She's
same
got the mark.
experience. So it's almost as if the Adola link exists in, well, it is that, because that's what happened with Shinra. Like the Adola link really seems to me to just be like the catalyst between like life and death.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is.
There are people that possess it via their fire powers.
Right.
But then there are also people that seem to like kind of be there, almost as if Conroe was supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was
as a result, he just exists without flame. And she's in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
So like they're
Well, no,
on
she
that
has powers. She has that flame power. That's why she was searching him with. So she still has her power, I think, because she was doing the study of him.
But something happened.
She definitely had an Adola link. Well, but it's the same with like the captain of like the second or the third or whatever, the one that had like the scar on his face that got
The fourth. Yeah, it's Hage. I think is his name.
He was the weirdo.
He got fucked up, dude. That was like traumatic.
That was brutal.
Especially for Shinra. Like it was one thing to see it like happen,
that. And
but
then
for
like
Shinra to experience it like in the dream world, I was like, what the fuck, man?
In Adola, I think. Because I was like, I was actually thinking about it because Cheyenne was asking about the differences of the generations. Like, is it a birth thing? Is it is it like a quirk thing where it's like the two parents pass on the pyrokinesis?
We don't really know.
I don't think it is because like, as far as I can tell, like first generation pyrokinetics are infernals. Right?
Yeah.
Second generation are able to take that. I think it's like everybody in that world has at some point like either the opportunity to flip the switch to become an infernal, or they flip a switch and become like a pyrokinesis, like somebody who can do it. It's the same reason why like Tamaki like fell over and like the flames came out for the first time.
Yes.
So it's like that would have been the trigger for the infernal, but it triggered as a second generation infernal instead of a first generation.
Which totally makes sense because second gens produce no flame. They can only manipulate it.
Or third generation or whatever. But like, I don't think it has anything to do with like relation or any kind of like.
I don't think so either. I also think that Shinra's mom's the demon, right?
She is, yeah. That's been
so
confirmed,
so he's the son of a demon.
No. She became an infernal, and she just happened to be like, you know, like occasionally like one will hit the right. I'm assuming they were using the bugs, right, to find a new like pilot light.
Yes.
And that she was compatible in a way that turned her into an infernal.
Right.
Or a demon instead of an infernal.
Into the evangelist. Because you
see that. No, the evangelist is not his mom. There's no way.
Why?
Because the evangelist is completely separate. Well, one, like, the evangelist does not have the infernal or demonic attire or visible, like, cues. It also appears to only exist in Adola.
Right.
That's why Dr. Giovanni was like, oh my God, we had an Adola link? Really? That means I'm closer to her now.
Yeah.
So like, I'm assuming the Great Cataclysm is her actually like stepping into our world, which then causes the trigger for everything around her. Because like it even happened with that guy that was at like the tabernacle or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like anytime she comes in contact with humans, it either turns them into demons, infernals, or different generation pyrokinetics. So I think that's why like those bugs exist as part of that world coming through. So it makes a link and either turns you into an infernal, or your actual like abilities click on and you.
And also Jujutsu Kaisen.
Dude, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, man. There was like a couple weeks there of episodes where I was like, not that I was disappointed in it, not that I wasn't appreciative of it. I just didn't have the same kind of like oomph about it as you did.
Yeah.
It just didn't like click with me as much as like other things going on,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I don't really know what it was, because like even looking back on it, it's like, no, it's pretty fire, but like it didn't, like, it's the same with like, have you been watching Noblesse?
No.
Noblesse? It's very uninspired.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. Like it's actually
there's
solid.
there's not a lot of heart in it.
It just kind of feels like another standard, like once you've seen one like vampire anime, you pretty much see Noblesse.
It's one of the reasons that I kind of fell off of it a bit, is that it's a little rigid.
It almost like
There's not enough levity.
it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like if Demon King didn't have the humor to it, didn't have like the kind of like fun, kind of almost ethereal, like almost like fun, jovial, like kind of almost childlike vibe that Anos brought to the table.
Yeah, well, the goofiness is important, man.
Yeah.
I feel, and this is going to sound like really dramatic, but I mean, that's
sure.
just who I am. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like anime is, more than any other genre, in my opinion, an experience.
Right.
I feel that anime is the story of life.
Yeah.
And so that
100%.
that encompasses a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it right, something like
Demon Slayer.
One Piece,
Or One Piece.
you know, any of these, and, you know, as much as you might dislike it or disagree with their choices, Bleach.
Yeah.
If you're presenting enough of a spectrum of human emotion, then you're going to be able to draw people in. And that said, some animes are not necessarily one note, but more that they're devoid of one note, like they're missing a note. And
yeah.
Noblesse is missing lightheartedness.
It has
as an element.
Well, and I mean, it doesn't even really need to have like lightheartedness as an element, but it feels like a rehash, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have anything that specifically sets it aside from others in its class. Like when you look at something like Demon Slayer, right? There's a lot of anime like that have that same format.
Right.
But it didn't have that like that touch, that like inspiration, right?
Yes.
And I think that's really what Noblesse is missing. In the same way I felt about like Bleach. It's like the first season I think is solid. It's pretty good. And it's inspired. Like you can tell like Tite Kubo's drawings are inspired when you look at the artwork from like the first couple of volumes of it. But
Right.
after a while it starts to kind of dissipate, because like he doesn't really write worlds. He doesn't really write fully fledged out storylines. He draws cool shit. I draw cool shit.
Yeah.
These characters look cool. They do cool things. It looks cool, like, and it works. It's very flashy. It's very unique. It has like its own style to it. Kind of like Junji Ito. It's got its own particular, like, you can look at it and be like, that's a Tite Kubo drawing. That's a Junji Ito drawing. That's a I always forget the guy's name that draws One Piece, but like Akira Toriyama. When you go and you play fucking Chrono Trigger for the first time as a kid, you're like, oh my god, that looks like Goku.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, because that's who drew it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's the same guy. Like, it has that style to it. But I feel like Noblesse just kind of like, No Game, No Life is another example of that, where it just feels like devoid of inspiration. Same with like Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Especially after the first season, it just doesn't really have any inspiration. Like, and then you look at something like Bofuri, and it's like they're clearly having fun. Like, they're enjoying making this. This is a good time.
Oh my god, I totally forgot Bofuri existed.
Yeah, man.
What a good fucking
It's
anime
so much
that
fun.
is.
It's just so much fun.
Yeah, I
It's
love
the same
that
with
kind
Slime,
of shit.
man. Like Slime again, like it's
dude.
inspired. Like it feels fun. It has a unique like.
And what's dope too is like I can see in my Crunchyroll that like those episodes are being rewatched, and I'm just like I'm seeing like which ones they are, and I'm like, oh, and like it makes me want to rewatch it.
Well, because I'm
it's
like showing
just
Cheyenne and shit.
So good, dude. Slime is like Rimuru Tempest.
Yeah, but like and so then like
tier.
in contrast, you watch something like Akame ga Kill. Like with the other ones, it's very inspired and unique in the way that it's presenting its storyline.
Yeah,
you know, it's got an idea that it's trying to do. It's the same with like One Punch Man. Like you look at the first season, second season, inspired, not inspired.
Yeah.
Labor of love, cash grab.
Well, I mean, that happes, I think, a lot with any kind of like, I mean, it happens here too all the time.
Yeah.
With, like,
I'm not
Game
saying
of
it's like
Thrones
unique
and shit,
to Japan, but
no, it's just, I also think that what might be a unique problem with Japan is just like the sheer mass quantity of the turnaround and just pumping these episodes out.
oh my god. Well, and same with like the people drawing the mangas.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You have to draw an entire chapter in a week?
Yeah.
You have to have that thing like drawn, written, directed, storyboarded, put together in a
It's
week.
a lot. It's a lot of like,
And
that's all you're doing.
Single week.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that blows my mind about the guy that makes One Piece, is like, he is probably the only human being in existence that thrives in that environment for like 27 years. Like,
Yeah.
he's been doing it like almost as long as I've been alive.
Well, you know, the South Park guys have been doing it for 20 plus.
Yeah. Same kind of concept. But like, and instead of like just like switching it over to like computers to do all the animation, like, he's drawing. Like, imagine Trey Parker and Matt Stone not only coming up with the jokes and coming up with the ideas with the story and coming up with the, you know, all of that. Imagine them having to draw every single frame of South Park.
Yeah, well,
It's
I mean,
even more
they used to
eccentric.
have to. You know,
Well, they used to
the
use
early
the-
seasons
yeah, it's
was
stop motion,
construction paper.
Yeah, stop motion. But like, I'm
I
talking
mean-
like, instead of just stop motion with something that you move like and you switch out pieces for, actually having to sit there and draw the mouth every time.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a feeling that there's going to be some sort of an invention within the next decade or so that changes that forever.
Yeah.
In terms
robot
of
you can
like,
fuck.
no, dumb. Something
What?
like
No,
you,
that's a real thing.
Something that you, I'm sure that is already.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that you plug into
Got
your
one on
head
pre-order.
that
What?
just lets your brain just draws the image.
Oh
You don't
yeah, I
have
mean,
to
we were looking at that
physically do it.
microphone, bro.
Oh my god!
Where it's just like you just.
I was going to talk about that.
Oh
dude.
my God,
It's
that's ridiculous.
So it's called. Y'all should
Not a
look this
sponsor.
up too. It's called the Doubler.
Yeah, not a sponsor.
And it's
That's your loss. But
it's by Voclia, and it's a microphone, and it's like $350 or something. It's very affordable for what it is, because it takes any sound that you put into it and it converts it into MIDI.
can you imagine what Mark Rebier could do with that?
Oh my god! I
you
hadn't even
imagine?
fucking considered him. I wonder if he knows that
Bro,
exists.
he just hit like
Somebody needs to fucking hit him up.
I was so happy for him, like, because I've been following Mark Rebier for like a year and a half or two now. Mark Rebier just finally hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube and did like a live stream for it, and it was just really sweet. Like, you could tell how genuinely, like, you know, when you look at someone like Markiplier or any of like the big shots, you know, it's like you can see the trend. You can kind of see where, like, you know, Markiplier stopped doing like 25 million subscriber thank you special, you know, like maybe like for giant milestones. But like when Markiplier started out, it was like 100,000 subscriber. He was like,
oh yeah,
doing a thing where he would like call, like, thank every single person that was following him. And shit.
yeah.
And Mark Rebier did like a whole live stream where it was just like the entire time, like, you could tell he was like so passionately like excited and thankful and like just high out of his mind.
Yeah.
And just having a great time. And I was like, God damn it, I'm so happy for that man.
Yeah, he's a really fucking talented guy, and he's a gem on earth for us. Like, you know, did you watch him on the Your Mom's House podcast?
I did not know.
He's very insightful. He's really, really smart guy.
I think I watched him on Ginger Whiskey. or
Whiskey
something?
Ginger, yeah,
Whiskey Ginger
with Andrew.
Yeah, I think I watched him on that.
I love Santino. He's on he and Bobby do The Bad Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he looked familiar. I was like, because I started his stuff came up in my feed and I started watching it, and I was like, I can't place it. But
He's
I
a
know
pretty
this guy
he's a
from
pretty
somewhere.
funny comic, but he's more intrinsically funny.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Bobby Lee, which is why I love their podcast, because like I found that over the years that I've been like diving into these comedians podcasts, and like I've strayed away from a lot of them.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of, like, somebody like Tom Segura, I think is a really brilliant comic and is a really funny comic, but like listening to Tom talk for like 3 hours gets
Kinda,
like,
yeah.
Whereas with like Santino and Bobby, like
Looking at you,
They're-
Crystalia.
they're solid comics, but yeah, Crystalia, man, that's really just an unfortunate situation is all
Yeah.
that is, you know, like there's never really any way for any of us to know like what truth there is to
Sure, yeah.
what extent any of that stuff is, but you know, it's just one of those things that like you can't really bounce back from.
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying that you should be able to.
Right.
It's just, you know, it's just thinking
We've had
out
this
loud
conversation
that, like,
before. We don't have to rehash this.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny when you were like, I've drifted away from a lot of people's podcasts.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember his name, so that's why later on I was like,
Well, you know,
Look at
Brian Callen got a bunch of allegations as well.
Oh, really?
From The Fighter and the Kid. And I actually had stopped listening to them before that happening.
Yeah.
I just kind of, it just wasn't
I
doing
think
it for
there's-
me anymore. And then like a few months after I stopped listening, it came out that like
he also
had
allegations.
some allegations, and to the point where he's no longer on The Fighter and the Kid. It's Brennan Schaub and these other guys that he's got, I forget their names, and it's The Fighter and the Kids. which I have even less incentive to listen to because, like, I'm not a huge fan of Brendan, and I don't even fucking know those other guys really.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like, you know, although I think that happens a lot, like, and it's not because, like, they get popular or anything, but, like, honestly, like, even, like, Markiplier, like, I kind of strayed away from Game Grumps a lot lately, like, and I'm sure that, like...
I did watch him play Among Us, though. That was fun. Danny is so cute when they're playing Among Us, especially, like, the first time he played, because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I do think, legitimately, I think Aaron and Susie are just an adorable couple. Like, they just click together in a way that, like, it's just so, like, wholesome and sweet. And it's like, I don't know, like, obviously, like, I still really love the Game Grumps. I just haven't really been in the mood to listen to, you know, watch their stuff. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, people go through changes, and also, like, I'll tell you that, like, that's part of
don't ever get tired of listening to us.
I feel like part of your 30s is like, I feel like your 20s is for discovering yourself.
Yeah.
And then I feel like your 30s is for, like,
oh my God,
discovering...
I'm going to be 30 in January.
Yeah, bro. I feel like your 30s is about discovering other shit. Because I feel like in the last couple of years, like, that I've gotten really passionate and into a lot of things and then just kind of, like, gone away from them. But not in a way that I regret that decision. It's just broadening your spectrum of life. So, like, I was super into cricket for a while. I'm like, I still like cricket. Like, it's cool. I would still like watch it, but, like, it's not a thing that I really seek out anymore. I'm like,
well, what is it like? It takes like a decade to master something, so you have like 7 different U's.
Yeah, well, it's 10,000 hours, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, but I think that, like, you know, in a good way. Like, I mean, that's part of the reason why I was like, yeah, I'm gonna rap on your album, fuck it. And, like, don't get me wrong, still super embarrassed about it. I think it's because, like,
why do you think I called it Join the Party?
I know that's the point, like, and everything, but, like, I think the thing, especially for me, like, and I am proud of the difference in the way, like, that I was able to recognize what was happening and then change it. Because, like, the first time I went in, I was well, it also didn't help that, actually it did help a lot that, like, you were putting on these tracks, like, with you and the RJB and, like, Maze and all this other shit, and I was like, God damn, all these guys are so fucking talented, and I'm over here, like, just, like, with my thumb up my butthole. I'm just stupid, like, I don't belong here, like, I don't feel like I fit in. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have fun with it. Like, I'm not, because, like, the first time I was like, I'm on an album with a lot of people that I respect and appreciate. Like, I was listening to Bananas on my way here. Just because it's like, it's just a good song. Like, I don't know if any of you, like, you probably have, but, like, if you haven't heard the Bananas EP by RJB, cop that shit.
Yeah. RJB's really, dope, really dude. Good. Yeah, and anything that Maze Hayes does, or any of those guys that I'm working with that are on the album with me, like,
and I'm not just saying that because, like, there's a potential that they're listening. You know, or like,
well, no, like, they
just,
really
are
genuinely
great. Like, oh
and,
my
like,
God,
Razor and Duke Leroy and Kells and, like, all those guys. Yeah. There's a lot of talent out there. You know what's interesting? The thing that's interesting to me about hip hop is that from the outside looking in, and particularly for, like, the first few years that you're doing it, like, if you're getting into it,
right,
it feels very much about big dick energy in the sense of, like, it's very flexy. It's very like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
But then the more you do it, the more you realize that it couldn't be. That the reality of hip hop is the antithesis of that. Like, hip hop in its roots, hip hop is about expression, right?
Yeah.
It's about being able to express yourself in a healthy way, and a creative way, and to bare your soul and be vulnerable in a creative way.
Honestly, like, that hits home because, like, I think for me, one of the things, like, I mean, even with the podcast, like, it doesn't really feel that vulnerable. I mean, it is a vulnerable experience to be, like, you know, just kind of opening up and talking and, like, throwing my ideas out there and, like, giving my opinion and, like, you know, however many people are listening, like, hear that and then, like, listen to, and that is kind of almost embarrassing in a way, like, because I'm vulnerable about it, but, like, in a specific way. And I think it's because, like, I have been listening to hip hop and, like, nothing but hip hop for, like, 20 years now.
Yeah.
And, like, so for me, it's like I have a supreme amount of respect for the game, for people that go out there and do it. You know, like, I've gone through my phases where I find, like, I want to, like, kind of have a laugh or, like, have a silly time with hip hop. So I'll put on some, like, really gangsta shit, or I'll put on, like, you know, Young Gravy or something, just, like, You know, because it's like it's funny, and I'm not really trying to like think about it. And then I'll put on like more like heady, like you know, very like intricate lyrics and stuff like that on
Like Aesop and shit.
like Aesop and Doom and you know all of those kinds of guys, like the underground shits. I feel such an amount of respect for rapping as a medium.
Yeah.
That it was like, I don't feel comfortable throwing my hat into the ring.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because I've never done it before, and I don't have a lot of like self-confidence in that kind of way. Like,
dude, that was my first 3 years of rapping.
Yeah.
Was just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
You know, it's like, so like when I went in for the first take, it was like, wow, I sound like a fucking tryhard, and nobody likes a tryhard, you know? So I was like, fuck that shit. And so then again, like I said, it was actually to my benefit that like I heard all these other guys rapping on there, and I was like, you know what? That's when I told you that line from The Last Is Ours, like worst rapper on the track, third coolest. I was like, that's gonna be me in this album, like worst rapper on the album, but like fourth coolest.
It's very much a thing of leaning into who you are, and that's what it is that people are respecting. It's not even the content I found.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, like, it is the content on a base level, right? In the sense of like, oh, well, you know, you obviously would have to, you know, at least somewhat kind of agree, or at least like be sparked by the things that I'm saying. But like, the reason that people respect it is because, you know, you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like,
I think like
somebody like Tech, it's like, if you were to really break down Tech's lyrics, like a lot of them are kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's a lot of like filler.
Yes.
You know, like,
it's a lot of just like, I'm rhyming this because for the sake of the fact that it
right.
rhymes.
It sounds like it comes from Rhyme Zone,
which is fine.
Yeah.
Because he's doing his thing.
Well, I think too, like there's two distinct genres in that regard. There are the ones that kind of find that how difficult it is to rap is the goal, the end game, right? Like it has to be the most difficult thing to rap, and that's what makes it impressive. And then there's another group that look at the lyrics as that's impressive, and then there's another group that find like the way that they are delivering the lyrics. And I think that's why like Eminem blew up in the way that he did, because he kind of hits all three of those notes.
Well, he's one of the goats.
Time.
I mean, and the goats do that. Pac did that.
Exactly.
You know, like Biggie did that. But somebody like Twista, it's like your boy's gonna blow you away with his speed.
Right.
But you know, in terms of in terms of content, it's not, you know, what you're gonna get. And then somebody like Aesop, like Aesop is just like
the Shakespeare.
I mean,
rap.
you might as well just be like reading an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
like
you might as well be
you're not going to have too much fun with Aesop.
I mean, I do, but like, I think also because like for me,
the fun comes from being tongue in cheek, right?
The fun
not
comes
from the fun that you would get from like Little John,
right?
You know, like,
yeah. I forgot that that's even a thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
what?
Okay. But like that was actually one of my things that like got me into hip hop in the first place. It was like I found Eminem, and it was like it wasn't the ones that were on the radio, but it was the ones where like I'd open up the booklet for the lyrics, and it's just a wall of fucking text.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that shit always like. That's what impressed me, the ability to like make something make sense and have like a fluid thought throughout the entirety of the process.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's way harder than I think a lot of people think.
I was happy, like, because again, I showed Alex the raw cut of Vicious Mockery, and I was embarrassed about it, but I was like, you know what? It's gonna come out whether I like it, whether I wanted to or not. At this point, like, it's gonna be out there, so it's like might as well just like get it out of the way, you know. And like he kind of like he had a smile. He's like, dude, you know, it sounded like. It sounded like you were having fun on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, and that sounds like you, like how I am, like when I'm talking to people and, you know, just kind of having a fun time.
You're doing your thing.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that's all I could ask for, is that like, at least it sounds like me, whether I like that sound or not, you know.
Well, you're not going to either. That's the other thing is like, I've talked about that before.
Every time I hear the song and it goes passing out to Pontius, I'm like,
that
it's about to drop like 3 levels of awesome.
Yeah, that's the sword of artistry is that you walk is like
sword artistry online.
Oh my god!
Well,
that's the
anime bars.
That's the tightrope you walk, though. Is that it's like the reason that you are an artist is because you're not happy with your work.
Yeah,
like no artist is like. I mean,
I'm sure there are a few.
excluding like Kanye.
Right.
Like there are very few artists that Van Gogh wouldn't tell you about how great his paintings
Touch
were.
the Sky though, still.
Oh yeah.
Still one of my favorite songs of all time.
But like, Van
Come up in
Gogh
the spot looking extra fly.
Van Gogh wouldn't brag about
Cut off his own fucking ear.
Okay. Well, yeah, he was out of his mind.
He was wild, but yeah.
But he would never brag about his art.
That's one of my favorite.
Shakespeare would never brag about his verse. Like,
that's one of my. I have this thing that I posted on my Facebook when I still had it from like a while ago, and it's just this picture of Shakespeare, and it's got some text next to it, and it's him, and he's like, it's like a tweet from Shakespeare. He's like, "Oh God, people are still reading Hamlet. I wrote that shit in like one fortnight, bro. Like,
yeah,
Shakespeare's got to get paid, son. I owe some people some money. You know what I'm saying? Shakespeare got to get paid, son.
Yeah."
And I was like, that is a perfectly fits the situation right here.
That's totally what it is. It's like you make something and then people see it and then you're like, okay, next thing.
Yeah.
So
that was kind of how it was. I went home and I was like, I'm gonna start writing some lyrics.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel the fact that you feel that way shouldn't make you feel badly. Like you should know that it's okay to feel that way. In fact, normal. In fact, like, I would be worried if you didn't feel that way.
Right.
Like, if you were just like, oh, yeah, man, I killed it, I wouldn't have invited you on the album in the first place.
Right.
Like, there's a level of there's a level of humility.
Yeah.
That's very hidden. Like, that's what I was saying earlier, like, on the surface. On the surface, hip-hop seems to be very aggressive and pompous, and it is.
Sure, yeah.
But there's a level of humility underneath all of that is really, in my opinion, required for, to produce the best work of the genre.
Oh, yeah.
Because, somebody like Lil Jon, there is a place for.
I love that you say Little John instead of Lil Jon.
Somebody like Lil Jon is there's a place for him and there is a necessity for him.
Yeah, like Young Gravy.
But Lil Jon is not somebody that you're going to listen to that's going to like inspire you to become an artist.
Right.
Unless you want to be another Lil Jon, which again, there is room and need for those people.
Go for it.
But it's the Eminems, it's the Jay-Z's, it's the Pacs and Biggies that like really make people, and even some of the smaller ones like Aesop and Watsky, like there are these rappers in the industry that really push other people to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I strive for in doing it. Is like
I said, I was telling
it's
you
all
the other
about
day,
inspiration.
One of my favorite things about you is that like you are consistent and your omnipresent push for other people around you to explore their creative outlets.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people like that. You know, like especially because like and maybe it's just like the kind of people that I knew or like the people that I was around. I think it also had to do with like, the stand-up comedy scene in like Portland and stuff where it's like very cutthroat.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of like, if I acknowledge you, that lessens my quality kind of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of those kinds of people out there where it's like, if I acknowledge that what you've done is good, then that dampens the quality of what I'm putting out.
Yeah.
So I don't want that everybody's competition. Whereas like for you, it's like, nah, get that shit together. Like telling Beasley, like come with me to the studio.
Yeah.
Write a fucking album. Like,
do the thing. Do the thing.
Yeah.
That's the theme of today's episode.
That's the title of the episode.
That's the takeaway. It's you have to do
the thing. Fuck the bell.
Well, I mean, you could do that too.
I would like you to.
More importantly, like do whatever it is, the thing that you're good at, and embrace that thing. And I lost my train of thought. I had something that I was going to say.
That was really poignant and beautiful.
But I don't remember what it was.
Actually, I will say one of my...
I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, go for it.
So the comedians talk about that. And there was I think it might have been Joe Coy that was talking about opening for Cedric the Entertainer. And he was talking about how like some comedians will not like having openers that are good. Right. They won't like strong openers because then that makes, their job harder.
Yeah. It dampens the quality. Yeah.
And Joe Coy Joe Coy talked about how when he would open for Cedric the Entertainer, Cedric would, Joe would go out there and kill it. And then he would pass Cedric backstage and Cedric would be like very grateful to him for killing it because it challenged him.
Yeah.
And
that's the right attitude.
And there are different, there are people that approach artistry from the sense of like it's dog eat dog, right, where like rivals. I've got to be better than you.
Yeah.
And then there are people who lift one another up and recognize, what do they say, the rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to be said about that, particularly in something like hip hop, where there's this large community of people online where like, you're doing shit like RJB is doing that shit. I don't want to talk about it on here because I don't know what he's told the public, but
Gotcha.
RJB's always in the lab doing some creative shit collectively. And like,
I know what you're talking about.
it's critical.
You
You gotta raise people up around you. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like one of my favorite things, and this is going to sound super weird because like, I don't think I come across the type of person that would like this kind of stuff. But like the kind of like the YouTube creators who do like, and it's typically pretty dark material, but like they'll do like ARGs and stuff where it's like, do you know what an ARG is, or unfiction?
Mm-mm.
So unfiction is a style of storytelling that involves, an ARG in particular involves the medium in which they're telling the story and the direction from the audience, right? So like there's a particular Twitter called The Sun Vanished, and they are telling a story, and it's like a Twitter feed from a guy who's living in a world where the sun just disappears one day.
Oh.
For like, it's kind of one of those things where it blurs the line between like storytelling in a way that it's like, clearly that's not the case, but like he'll put like, they make videos and have like little Twitter videos.
Oh, like
that.
Welcome to Night Vale.
Welcome to Night Vale is just like that's just a fiction story. Like that's just like it doesn't have the same kind of like emphasis on like community involvement, right? So like Welcome to Night Vale is just like a story written and then they just perform it and that's it.
Right.
Whereas like something like The Sun Vanished, or even like Hi, I'm Mary Mary.
It's almost like they're role playing.
Kind of, yeah. It's like the number one rule is you never break character, right?
Right,
so
right.
Like Mary, Hi, I'm Mary Mary is actually like this big, it is a metaphor for suicidal thoughts or like feelings of like the monsters in your head, right? So it's like this girl, she wakes up in this house that's a copy of her own. And there are monsters that stalk her at night, and she can't get out. She can't break any of the windows, and she has a computer, but she can't see any responses. So she's just sending it out to the ether to see if anybody can hear it or see it. And it's all these different creatures who are manifestations of like her insecurities and her self-doubts and her loathing. And so then like after a while, she like finds like what you would say is the metaphor for like drugs. She finds like a door that opens up into like this forest. And she feels good in the forest, but it's like, and then she gets addicted to the forest, and the forest starts like dying, and it's like this huge allegory. It's beautiful. I would check out Hi, I'm Mary Mary if you get a chance. It's awesome.
Hi, I'm Mary Mary. The Sun Vanished. RJB, Maze, Hayes, always doing stuff.
Fucking all that shit.
Everybody out there, go do the thing.
Yeah,
That's
love
what
yourself.
today's episode is
love
about.
that.
And next week it's fucking Christmas.
Fucking
gang.
Christmas, bro.
Christmas Eve. Next week, this podcast, it'll be our Christmas edition.
Oh, shit.
Let's sing Christmas carols. And we'll make a snowman. I'll get snow. I'll get
fucking
snow
Florida.
flown in, no problem. Private jet.
Yeah.
That's the kind of life
Air
I'm
Force
living
One.
these days. Anybody,
Yeah, baby.
Anybody out there, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at NoBigBanana, and send emails to nobigbanana@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. I encourage you to continue in your quest for art.
Yeah. Yeah.